3 deaths in 24 hours in NCD. Uncontrolled movement of guardians of COVID patients. And NRI says government needs to re-strategize on COVID awareness. Good evening, this is Tuesday's news. I'm Kilawani. The third wave of the coronavirus is the deadly Delta variant. PNG does not have the testing capacity as the virus mutates in different forms according to experts. Tests have been sent to Melbourne, Australia for testing of the Delta strain of COVID-19 and the results are yet to be received by Port Moresby General Hospital. With the National Control Centre for COVID-19 confirming this third surge to be predominantly due to the new COVID-19 strain, the Delta variant, Medical Unit Coordinator and Incident Manager for COVID-19 at the Port Moresby General Hospital confirmed Papua New Guinea does not have the capacity to test and vet on the new strains of COVID-19.
With the Delta variant, we have the samples that have been collected, and we don't do the testing here because we don't have the capacity. We are sending them off to Melbourne, and when they give us the results, we'll be able to know.
Dr. Moke says whilst the samples are sent down to Australia, POMGen is yet to confirm a local case of the new strain, but pending results.
Previously, with other expatriates that have been here, the test has been done and it has been confirmed to be the strain, Delta variant strain. But within our population, we again need to confirm that when the numbers come.
Meanwhile, as revealed by the country's National Control Centre for COVID-19 in a virtual conference, Delta variant is on the rise in many parts of the country, with 67 new cases reported from the Dauberry Institute in Melbourne, Australia. 169 confirmed cases with 1 new death last night. That's 3 deaths due to COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. This is the progressive report from the Port Moresby General Hospital. While the hospital is seeing an increasing number of cases daily, bed space is limited and manpower stretched. Port Moresby General Hospital and the Tauranga Aquatic Centre currently holds 169 confirmed cases as of today. 3 new deaths recorded in the last 24 hours.
At the moment, the numbers have actually increased, the number of COVID-19 cases. So they have increased from last week less than 100 to now more than 100. So at the moment, as I'm speaking, in our wards within the hospital, we have about 143 COVID-19 patients in our wards. That's almost in all sections. Like in our isolation ward here, we have about 20 positive cases. Then up in our wards and respective disciplines as well, at least we have holding base where we keep mild, moderate COVID-19 patients in respective sections.
The positivity rate or infection rate is currently at 70%, according to POMGen COVID Committee. This means out of the 44 tests conducted in the last 24 hours, 32 have returned positive. Dr. Randy Moke says the surge is not going to end soon with the current trend.
So you see that the numbers is continuing to increase, and hopefully this will end soon. But we don't expect, the way things are, we don't expect that to end any near soon.
Meantime, Dr. Moke highlighted that oxygen demand has increased drastically.
For COVID patients, at least 15 of such cylinders in any one day. So that is for just one patient. It is seen that at least for a week, you would expect more than 600 of such cylinders in a week.
Adding the National Department of Health is supporting in ensuring adequate oxygen supply. He pointed out that the hospital is still in need of support.
So far, our team are able to manage the current, but we need more support. We're still pushing for space. We need more space, and we need more support in terms of provision of oxygen. We will need more support in terms of ensuring we have enough staff for both medical officers as well as nursing staff as well.
While 3 deaths have been recorded in the last 24 hours, the recovery rate is exceptional.
Recovery has been good. Those that severe, moderate, tend to improve a lot. They become mild and asymptomatic, and most of them have been really discharged. Some of them stay a bit longer because they also have other comorbidities as well. But otherwise, as much as possible, when they become mild, we either transfer to Tarama Aquatic Center or get them going on, discharged on treatment, yeah.
EMTV asked on what kind of treatment is being administered to COVID-19 patients whilst in the holding bay or isolation ward. Doctor said the treatment currently given is the standard for COVID-19 patients.
At the moment, the mainstay of treatment is oxygen. We need to ensure that oxygen is adequate and supplied to the COVID-19 patients. And then other infections or superimposed infections like giving them antibiotics, ensuring covering them for that, and also steroids or dexamethasone, because there's a lot of inflammatory processes going on in their body, in their lungs, and so to reduce the inflammatory processes that's triggered off by the virus itself, we need to ensure they're covered with steroids. So we give them dexamethasone and then vitamins and supportive treatment as well.
Dr. Moke says it's the unvaccinated that are flooding the COVID wards and urges the public to be vaccinated.
Most of the patients that are admitted are those patients that have not been vaccinated. And so I think it's really, really important that those who are mainly at risk of developing the severe form of COVID-19, it's really good and better for them to be vaccinated, like those that have diabetes, those that have hypertension, and those who are pregnant as well need to be vaccinated.
The deadly virus is taking its toll on a fragile health system, and frontline workers, the first responders, are the most affected. One frontline worker at the Port Moresby General Hospital says he only takes 1 hour off and hasn't seen his family since the third wave began. He says this is mainly due to POMGen being understaffed. Going to work during the COVID-19 pandemic has placed frontline workers under immense and unprecedented pressure, putting their physical, mental and social well-being at risk. Dr. David Jimbanau is a senior medical officer at the Port Moresby General Hospital. He is currently manning the isolation ward. He says the current admission rate is unparalleled as the number of patients reporting to the ward and even the number of deaths have increased dramatically.
It's almost full over the last 3 weeks, so almost every day.
You lose patients?
We lose and we get them from ED and outside too.
Do you see severe cases die here every day?
Yeah, almost every day. Previously it's like one in a week. Now we are seeing more than one in a week. I think over the weekend we've got 5 or 6 deaths.
Over the weekend you lost 5 or 6, just this past weekend?
Yeah, like last 24 hours we just lost 2. The 2 empty beds in front, they just filled them up.
EMTV asked Dr. Jimbanau on what it's like for a frontline worker, especially during this surge, and how they are coping. His facial expression in response was enough to tell that they are pushed beyond their limits. And the frightening thing is that the surge is just starting. Dr. Jimbanau is the only senior medical officer as COVID-19 registrar at the isolation ward.
Good question. We just can't cope with it. I think some people have been working more than 24 hours and we've got a number of workers who are also infected, and I think the same people are working more than 24 hours, taking the other shifts too. And I'm by myself here, so it's like I'm 24 hours, 7 days a week here.
You work 24 hours here?
Yeah. I just go out for 1-2 hours and then come back. I miss my home, but I don't have choice. I'm the only one here. The other anesthetic team, they've got a couple of other registers, so they usually change. But me, I'm full-time here, so yeah, it's a bit difficult, but we just have to do it. We don't have enough manpower too. That's the biggest issue.
While EMTV was being given the tour of the isolation ward yesterday, another severe case was rushed in. And this particular case passed on this morning. As a frontline worker witnessing firsthand the rise of COVID-19 on people, he is urging the public to be vaccinated.
Me too. I first time I don't like to get vaccinated. But after seeing what has happened over the last 3 weeks, I went and got my vaccine last week, so I want them to go and get vaccinated too. People come in mild cases, but most of the people that died and got admitted here are unvaccinated, almost 99% of them. And after seeing them dying like that, it's quite scary. So that's why I decided to go and get myself vaccinated. So my message to the public is go and get yourself vaccinated to protect yourself. There are deaths every day, so please just go and get vaccinated.
Mount Hagen General Hospital is dealing with another stressful situation, controlling the movement of COVID-19 patients, carers, or WASMAN in Tokpisin. Director Nursing Services Sister Janet Yamu warned that staffs working at the COVID isolation wards are bound to get infected and guardians should be wary of COVID protocols. Western Highlands Province in the last 3 weeks recorded 22 COVID-19 deaths at the hospital. This figure does not include those who died at home.
While people are queuing to get tested for COVID-19, get vaccinated, or waiting for a bed to be made available for them at the isolation center, others are ignorant. People who are not sick can be seen without wearing a mask and hanging around at the hospital area. There is no social distancing among the guardians or visitors of sick patients at the hospital. In the isolation center and the isolation wards, guardians can be seen sitting close to the COVID-19 patients. During visiting hours at the hospital, visitors just flocked into the wards to visit their loved ones. People are not adhering to COVID-19 protocols, and this is one of the reasons there is a surge of COVID-19 in the province, putting burden on the limited health staff to fight this virus.
The that we are taking is very dangerous, as staff are going to become sick either with COVID-19 or they will experience stress-related illnesses, and I am afraid that eventually we will not have staff to take care of this surge that we are experiencing now.
The hospital has tried its best to remove the guardians out of the isolation center, but they couldn't argue and fight anymore with them. WHPHA has so far recorded 22 COVID-19 deaths in the last 3 weeks and have seen 1,139 positive cases. They only have 60 COVID-19 beds, which is currently full with 75 COVID patients being admitted. Other COVID-19 patients who are very ill and needed to be isolated are waiting at the Persons of Interest tent for a space to be made available at the isolation center. This has forced them to close down other services to accommodate the COVID-19 patients. The hospital chapel, surgical wards, and the TB ward are turned into COVID isolation wards.
We are trying our best to keep our patients in isolation, but that number, we cannot meet it. The manpower is really deflated. We have increased number of nurses, including the hygiene staff. Everybody who's taking care of COVID, they are becoming sick, and the nursing manpower is continuously decreasing. We do not have the capacity to meet that demand.
A total of 77 staffs of the Western Highlands PHA are down with COVID-19. The limited staffs are working extra hours and are exhausted. There is need for more oxygen, gas cylinders and consumables as more COVID patients are admitted. The hospital is also waiting for its remaining funds to be made available to be able to open other services and cope with the COVID-19 surge. Vasinotha Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
This is National EMTV News. More stories when we come back. Welcome back to the news. Health Minister Jelta Wong was put in the hot seat today with numerous questions relating to the national government's response to the Delta variant surge in the country. The questions came consecutively, first by Pomio MP Elias Kapavore, followed by Eastern Highlands Governor Peter Numu.
Since the surge in the Delta variant strain reported in Papua New Guinea, the government's response was for citizens above the age of 18 to be vaccinated. But this afternoon, specific questions were raised on the treatment for COVID-19 and who is at the implementing end in provinces and districts.
What is the commonest transmission now come up? Commonest transmission today come up the communities, all schools, all hospitals. Come up the common transmission today. Where is it happening? In the workplace? Do we have statistics to support this transmission so that you can talk some vaccine all the time? Fourth, when I'm plan the government now, lost la time, lost support him work long, surge or increasing number of COVID lo country blow.
The response by the health minister was simply practice self-isolation, get vaccinated, or avoid mass gatherings.
This COVID Delta variant, as I said before, there's no cure for it. And one of the things that we have to realize is we need time. It needs time to get out of your system. It takes about 14 days to 21 days. And this is from our leading experts. It won't happen overnight. So we need people to isolate themselves. We need people to, if they need oxygen, we provide the oxygen and that.
But the more practical questions were raised by Governor Peter Numu, whose province has been hard hit.
Mr. Speaker, I will go to my questions. But the biggest issue we are facing, or problem we are facing now, is how the medical situation will be handled in my province and how we will handle the attitude of the people of mass gathering and our lifestyle that leads to quick spread of COVID. Is there any insurance for the frontliners? Does this government have any insurance for the frontliners, that is the health workers who are handling the patients, COVID patients, as well as handling the dead bodies, and the police on the ground enforcing the measures? Because we lost 3 health workers, Mr. Speaker, and 2 police officers in the province.
The responses given by the health minister was brief, and no proper answers were given on whether frontliners will be insured.
Question number 3, the vaccination rollout is being funded by our government as well as our foreign partners. In the last 2 weeks, the vaccine rollout has quadrupled in numbers. So a lot of our people now seeing the importance of being vaccinated are turning up at vaccination points to get vaccinated.
Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
North Fly MP James Donald raised concerns on the Pyongyang gas agreement in Parliament today during question time this afternoon. From the Western Province perspective and the landowners concerned, MP Donald raised 13 questions, with Gulf Governor Chris Haiveta and Medang MP Brian Kramer raising points of order against some points raised. Prime Minister James Marape responded to some of the questions in the absence of Petroleum Minister Karanga Kua.
Last month, Prime Minister James Marape, during his trip to the United States, accompanied by several government MPs, met with ExxonMobil executives in Houston, where the state executed heads of agreement along with an equity purchase HOA with ExxonMobil. Given that the gas field is located in the North Fly district of Western Province, North Fly MP James Donald raised a series of questions to get some response for his people concerned.
Mr. Speaker, the Pyongyang gas field is located in my province, Western Province, and more specifically, it's located in North Fly. The Honorable Prime Minister and the Minister are fully aware of our concerns, which are well documented, and I think they have all the answers. Mr. Speaker, I am compelled to raise this series of questions because of the failure of the government and the Minister of Petroleum or Ministry of Petroleum to address these concerns.
The gas agreement HOA captures key fiscal, regulatory and licensing terms negotiated over the last 2 months. The equity HOA provides for the state to acquire at cost 10% additional equity from ExxonMobil in the Pyongyang project.
Can the Prime Minister confirm or deny that Pyongyang PRL-3 or Petroleum Retention License number 3 has expired 5 years ago? Second question, can the Prime Minister confirm or deny that ExxonMobil has failed to develop the gas field despite holding the license for 15 years? Question number 3, can the Prime Minister confirm or deny that the APDL application to Petroleum Development License was lodged in haste, has failed all the prerequisites technically, and commercial tests under the Oil and Gas Act?
From a government perspective, the overall deal reflects a win-win for both sides of the agreement, and in addition to all legal entitlements, the state's stake is at 63% in the deal, compared to 49% in PNG LNG and 51% in Papua LNG. The Prime Minister tried to answer a few of the many questions raised, but is committed to properly respond to the questions in the course of this Parliament sitting.
So me give assurance with the Petroleum Minister or me in this sitting of Parliament will make a detailed response to in Parliament. So people belong Western Province, people belong North Fly District, people belong also Bib area where resources sleep, people belong country clear along display. Heads of agreement we play with him, one to ExxonMobil, long Houston. One of something but take place long Pyongyang after, as well as including some or point and making whether process lo you mean as far as PRL-3 me concern whether me set up long legal basis or inestable legal basis.
Some analysts say the deal makes Pyongyang an investment-grade bankable project, meeting the project partners' investment thresholds, giving it the best chance of going into construction phase.
The Honourable Member belong North Fly, me giving you barely see yourself. One am stable ting ting blue you long kissing more long. People blue you long antap long North Fly, or people blue me long Western long country. I mean same thing driving me long goal or display. You me carry resource. The resource that we have today, if you would have seen the contemporary conversation today, globally today, is on cleaner energy now.
Whilst emphasizing on the need for PNG to consider clean gas today, the Prime Minister said whilst signing the heads of agreement with ExxonMobil that the Pyongyang project timing is sequenced in a way that it commences as soon as Papua LNG construction is complete. Dennis Orere, National EMTV News.
Gordon Secondary School in NCD yesterday reflected on the passing of a high-performing student 2 weeks ago, as the school joined other schools around the country to commence Grade 10 national examinations. In remembrance of the female student Mariana Sumala, who was of mixed parentage of Morabe, Sipik and Manus. Staff and students of the school put a photo of her on her desk inside the examination room. According to her teachers, late Mariana only managed to do the mock exams, but could not make the final exams due to illness that led to her death.
Amidst the thoughts of doing a final examination, Gordon Secondary School Grade 10 students also remembered fellow student Mariana Sumala yesterday as they joined other schools around the country for the commencement of national examinations. Mariana passed away just 2 weeks prior to the final exams, sparking feelings of sadness among the school community, with a funeral service held at Gordon's Police Barracks Chapel to honor her life.
Late Mariana was a role model to most of us. Because of her behavior and her approach, most of the teachers also recommended her as a very reliable student with excellent performances. And now that we have lost our loving sister, our hearts are grieving for you and will grieve for you forever. We thank the good Lord for blessing the 10 Alphas with such a kind and wonderful classmate, friend, and sister he had given us. It is really a blessing to know you, especially in Gordon Secondary School.
Saju Francis, an Indian school teacher who has taught in a number of secondary schools in the country for more than 15 years, described Mariana's academic performance as of high level, and it was heartbreaking to lose her at such a time.
And when we talk about Gordon Secondary School this year, the national examination, one of the saddest thing is one of my top 10 students, I can say, top 10 students. One girl, unfortunately, she passed away last 2 weeks ago, just before the national examination. It's a very sad moment because she's supposed to pass out with 7 distinction according to her internal marks and all. And really it is very saddening situation. However, in reverence and in memory of her, her classmates arranged her table with some flowers and her photographs also. It is very heartbreaking situation to see because she was one of the best students, very humble girl, working very good with the teachers, and we are really sad. But what to do? We observe 1 minute silence before we start the examination, but we have to roll on.
Mr. Francis says it is sad to lose young, bright lives like Mariana, who could have gone on to become a valuable asset for Papua New Guinea into the future. The school's exams coordinator Grace Moses shed a tear or two as she spoke to EMTV News about Mariana.
We started off the year with around 403 grade 10 students. Unfortunately, along the way, there were some students who withdrew, and apart from the ones who withdrew, we lost one. Okay. We lost one 2 weeks before the exam. That was the Sunday of the holiday time. We lost one of our top distinction student. She uses the classroom at the back of me. This morning, since last week, the friends had to prepare her table, which she has her photographs in there. So we lost one of our grade 10 students, Sumala Mariana.
Mariana had a mixed parentage of Morobe, Sipik and Manus, in which her father is said to be a policeman. According to school authorities, it was reported Mariana had a medical condition relating to her brain, leading to her death. But it was not COVID-19 related. A framed photo of her was placed on her desk yesterday in one of the exam rooms to remember her. Dennis Orere, National EMTV News.
The Constitutional and Law Reform Commission Secretary Dr. Mange Matui says the personal income tax in the country is comparatively one of the highest in the world. This is according to findings by the CLRC following a directive from the national government to review the personal income tax laws. The CLRC and its stakeholders will be reviewing the laws on personal income tax and will make recommendations back to the government. They are currently in lay for consultations. Charlene Airy reports.
The Constitutional and Law Reform Commission and its stakeholders are in the process of conducting public consultative forums to gather views on personal income tax. These forums are part of the review process on the laws on income tax in the country as directed by the government. According to findings from the National Research Institute, a total of 2.5 billion kina is earned from income tax in a year. CLRC Secretary Dr. Mange Matui said part of the review is to look at alternative sources to generate revenue if this figure was to be reduced.
We could, for example, look at the corporate tax and say, do we look at this and increase that? Or we go back and look at the tax bracket. Those who are being paid, 150,000 to, 250,000, 150,000 to 250,000. Do we reconsider the, tax rate? For example, maybe they are paying around 40,000 or 42,000. Do we increase that by, 3% or so? Do we increase that by 5%?
CLRC and its stakeholders were in Leh last week to conduct a consultative forum with the public sector. This is one of two forums conducted so far in Medang and Morobe. From these discussions, the main concerns raised were the high tax on personal income and lack of awareness on taxation at the community level.
In our laws, there are tax incentives provided. For example, tax rebates and, tax sacrifices, probably that's one of the something that is already being removed, but those are tax incentives that are provided. But the glaring fact that comes out of it is that there is total lack of knowledge, awareness of these tax incentives, and there is something that within the public service, the state agencies, the human resource division and human resource officers must do more.
CLRC and its stakeholders aim to achieve an outcome that balances the tax burden on public servants while implementing the Income Tax Act. Following the nationwide consultative forums, CLRC will be making recommendations to the government in close consultation with the Internal Revenue Commission. Charlene Airy, National EMTV News, Leh.
And now looking at the Nest Fund market report, the kina closed unchanged at $0.2850 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina is buying $0.2775 $0.3737 Australian dollars, $0.2322 euro and 30.87 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading higher, coffee and copra closed higher, cocoa closed lower, crude oil is trading higher, palm oil closed lower, and copper closed higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed lower, the ASX 200 is trading lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading lower. You're watching EMTV News. More stories after these short messages. Welcome back to the news. Barrick Gold CEO and President Mark Bristow arrived in the country this afternoon and will be here from the 12th to the 15th of October, along with senior Barrick Gold executives, as part of their quarterly review visits to Barrick-operated mine sites throughout the world. Dr. Bristow is expected to meet with Prime Minister James Marape and senior PNG government officials. during his visit. Porgera mine is presently under care and maintenance, while negotiations for the recommencement of mining at Porgera continue. His visit will assist in progress in negotiations, endorse certain critical milestones, and that all key agreements required are dealt with prior to the recommencement of the mine. He said Barrick remains entirely committed to restarting the Porgera mine under the terms of the framework agreement. His view is that all parties need to be conscious of the passage of time and should work together to finalize negotiations as soon as possible to ensure an expedient mine restart. This would ensure that the Porgera mine can start contributing to Papua New Guinea's economic recovery impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. No proper awareness on COVID-19 vaccine side effects and the untimely supply of vaccines are just two issues among others highlighted by the National Research Institute as factors that contribute to a slow vaccination rate in the country. With the COVID-19 virus slowly making inroads into the provinces, the NRI suggests that the government needs to re-strategize to increase the COVID-19 vaccination rate in the country.
Papua New Guinea is one country that is slowly bringing up the number of citizens receiving the COVID-19 vaccination. While getting the jab is a choice, it has become a priority by the national government to get the vaccination numbers up. While it is evident the number of citizens receiving the COVID-19 vaccine is slowly climbing, the National Research Institute, Papua New Guinea's leading researcher in social and economic issues, has released its latest publication titled Government Needs to Re-strategize to Increase COVID-19 Vaccination Rate. The research conducted by PNG NRI found that poor awareness about the vaccine, inadequate vaccination centers, shortages of vaccine and misinformation on social media is making people reluctant to take the vaccine. It also found that vaccination rates would increase if proper awareness on the side effects of the vaccine are conducted, more vaccination centers are provided, and vaccines are supplied in a timely manner. While information is available readily on the internet and through news mediums about the positives of the COVID-19 vaccination, there seems to be a lot of skepticism. But with the current rise in numbers of COVID-19 positive patients, vaccination numbers are on the rise. Governor of NCD Powes Pakop is one member of parliament who has been vocal about getting the vaccination, and he says he has suggested to the government about some strategies to counter the misinformation and skepticism.
You know, in terms of our response, the national response from the National Department of Health and the NCC, I've been pushing for them that we need to have a strategy. I am of the view that we have not done enough to counter that perception. I've suggested to the NCC that they should, and to the Minister for Health, they should get a PR company that is specialized on countering, that type of view and overcoming it. And we can do it, but we did not put effort or maybe adequate effort to it. I've talked to WHO too about it. We've tried a bit of trying to debunk all these conspiracy theories.
While it remains a choice for citizens to get vaccinated, the government needs to re-strategize on how it intends to increase the COVID-19 vaccination rate in Papua New Guinea, so as to reach a level where the population of the country is protected against the virus in the near future. Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV News.
And Trukai Sports is next. All the details when we come back.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. With just a few days away from the T20 World Cup begins, the Hula Lighthouse Cricket Association have extended their support to the Kumul Petroleum Barramandis. Hula Cricket Coordinator Kila Pala says they're more than happy to share a word of encouragement to the players as they make their World Cup debut.
Former PNG cricketer and under-19 Garamut's coach Kila Pala has been an instrumental figure in coordinating the Ula Lighthouse Cricket Association.
This is my second year and running the comp here for 2 years. You know, it's a big challenge compared to most people where everything is there for you. Whether in here in Hula, you got to really work hard for. So which is good. It's a good challenge.
The 36-year-old is a left-handed batter, made his international debut for the Barramundis in 2015 before joining the coaching arena. Pala's input in growing young cricketers in Ula has been a success, with one of his players, Malcolm Aporo, currently in the under-19 PNG Garamut's train-on squad. Pala is hopeful to make a return to the coaching circle.
I've got this desire to go back into coaching. It's a burning desire. I think seeing and coming to the village and teaching these young players to develop their skills. Within 2 years, I've seen big changes here in the village. So I think for me personally, I want to bring that down back to Mosby and hopefully get back into the coaching circle.
Ula Lighthouse Cricket Association has produced some of PNG's elite players, including 2 PNG internationals, Jason Kila and Tony Ura, an encouraging story for the local competition to unleash more rural talents.
They started playing cricket in the village and then they went down to Mosby and then now they're representing the country. So which is good for the association as well. Hopefully these young athletes here can one day be like Tony Ura and be like Jason Kila. So that's what we are hoping for.
The association expressed their word of support to the Kumul Petroleum PNG Barramundis in their upcoming T20 World Cup.
To the Barra boys in Dubai, I know it's been a tough road ahead, but we're always here. We are backing you 110%. So just give you 110% on the field. Have no regrets. Once you leave the field, you are happy that you gave your 110%.
Meanwhile, the Barramundis have made 2 narrow losses to Scotland and Namibia last week in the T20 Internationals. They will face Ireland and Sri Lanka this week in their final warm-up games before their World Cup debut on Sunday. Suli, Trukai Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather report is next. All the details after the break.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus. With you always.
Weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow: southern region, Port Moresby and Popondetta, cloudy with rain periods. Kerema, partly cloudy with patchy rain possible.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus. With you always.
And that's the news, sports and weather for today, Tuesday, 12th of October 2021. Until next time, pleasant viewing, be safe, bye for now.